Hi guys, welcome. I think I think for anyone else to come in, they can come and sneak in through the back. Just want to welcome you all. It's good to see so many people here at our monthly Tech Wednesday event. My name is Michelle Rayner. I'm the Programme Manager for the Entrepreneurs for the Future, which is outside the area where you guys were having drinks and networking, and where we'll be afterwards for the pizza and further networking. Just out of interest, how many people is it their first time at Tech Wednesday? Please put your hands up. Brilliant, great to see, and thank you for those that have come back. And for those of you who haven't been to Tech Wednesday before, it's a monthly event. It's the third Wednesday of every month, and the whole point is sort of get the tech community in Birmingham and the West Midlands together. For us, our point of view is to let you know what we do here at Innovation Birmingham, and also to have some interesting talks and for people to let you all know what's going on, maybe whether it's their startup or something that might benefit startups in Birmingham and the West Midlands. So just very quickly, health and safety. There's no fire alarm planned tonight, so if you hear a fire alarm go off, it's real. And if you make your way into the front of the building, make your way out to the exit, that's the nearest one. If you just make your way out of there and turn right down to towards Love Lane. So just to let you know, what we started to do last month is actually do sort of a 1-minute pitch as well for a few people at the end of the talk. So have a think. If you actually want to stand up in front of everyone, give a minute pitch, whether it's a problem you've got, you're looking for someone. I'll give people the opportunity to do that at the end of the talks just before we go and get some pizza. Just to let you briefly know about what we do here at the Entrepreneurs for the Future Centre. It's an incubator programme, and what we do is help tech startup businesses. It's a 9-month programme. We're part European funded, and the whole point is sort of to help innovative tech businesses who are based in the West Midlands give their how their business. So if you want to know more details about that, please come and speak to me after the talks. Just to let you know about Innovation Birmingham as a whole, it's a tech hub. We have 50 businesses based within ranging from early stages in FREF to more advanced and bigger office spaces for the rest of the building. And that's it for me, really. Now I'll introduce you to this. The general format is we have talks from now until about 7ish, and then from 7 till about 8, half 8, we have networking and pizza. So thank you for coming. I'd like to introduce you to Jean, who's going to let you know about Ascension Ventures and then partnering up with Finance Birmingham. So thank you, John. Yeah.
Hi, thank you very much, and good evening. I'm Jean de Fougerolles. I'm the CEO of Ascension Ventures. We're an early stage investor, venture capital company investing in tech and digital media businesses. We're based, well, I live in London, so half of my time is in London and now half in Birmingham. So I'll just kind of explain what we've done. So my background is I was an entrepreneur. I worked at MTV UK 20 years ago from originally Canada, and then worked at MTV, and then I ran a digital media business called 2A TV, games and interactive production company, which I sold and decided to set up an early stage VC 2 years ago to basically work with entrepreneurs with both capital and also infrastructure to help them grow their businesses. So our focus is on, the UK creative and digital media industries, which are kind of booming right now and creating a huge amount of jobs across the UK. And why is this the case? In the old days, 15, 20 years ago, it could cost you, £500,000 to build a website. Now you can do it in an hour. And there are a lot of platforms that have opened up, like YouTube or Facebook, Twitter, that you can kind of build apps and other digital products on top of to reach your audience. So it's kind of the barriers to launching businesses have decreased. Of course, in the UK, you've got a massive amount of tax benefits, both SEIS and EIS, which help angel investors get involved in risky early stage businesses. So that's kind of helped create a proliferation of startups. And the other thing that we've noticed in the last 4 or 5 years is a huge amount of talented individuals and entrepreneurs going down the startup route rather than going into the banking system or other industries. So, and this is not only happening in London, it's kind of happening across the UK, places like Manchester, Birmingham, and further north as well. So that's kind of the ecosystem and opportunities that we're looking to invest in. What we've been doing is we've been running SEIS funds for the last 2 years, and just last week we announced a joint venture with Birmingham City Council to help them kind of advise on their creative and tech funds. I'll talk about that more in the last slide of what that is and what we're looking for, but basically they're about £6 million to invest in local Birmingham-based tech and creative businesses. And we've done a joint venture because I think they liked the fact that I had some deep industry know-how and knowledge. And I think when you're doing early stage investing, it's more about the team and the product and the route to market rather than crunching spreadsheets and past P&Ls, because you're dealing often with businesses that haven't launched yet, pre-revenue businesses. So that's the kind of introduction why I'm here. I should also say that Sue Summers, the CEO of Finance Birmingham, is in the crowd, as is Sam Miller. So what is the team? So currently, you've got myself, comes more from an entrepreneurial background. We've got John Hanley, who's now my chairman, and he's the head of the investment committee of Finance Birmingham. We've got Sue in the crowd. Sam Miller, who was running the early stage funds, is now an investment director at Ascension. And Kieran Hill, if you could stand up, Kieran. He's my colleague, and he's here. And so he's also kind of very involved in this early stage business. So this is on our website. You can go and bore you to death. I'm trying to keep this to 5 minutes, but just to give you kind of an idea of who we are and what we're trying to do. So how did we come to meet Finance Birmingham, and how did we get here? So in our first fund, we invested kind of in some digital media businesses, and there was a company called Finds You, which is currently based in Birmingham, Custard Factory. So we co-invested alongside Finance Birmingham with that business, and then I had, for every other interesting opportunity that was local, I had Sam Miller calling me saying, can we co-invest, can we co-invest? So we did Droplet, which has been based out of here, and Hobbsy, which came through the Oxygen Accelerator. So I would say out of our 11 companies there, 3 of them are local and the rest are London-based. So, I mean, we see interesting opportunities outside of London as well. And, the reason to come to Birmingham and to be in Birmingham is it's kind of lower cost. So when you're kind of espousing the lean startup model, it's easier to have a life here, and there's some good entrepreneurs and a good ecosystem locally as well. So we tapped into that. So this is now talking more about our SEIS fund, which we've just launched a new fund, and we'll be looking for investments there as well, which could be co-invest opportunities. But kind of our focus for that fund, which is different from the creative fund, is on digital media. So if you look at the last 100,000 years in the UK, they've been very strong in games, film, music, publishing, music, live events. So those are the kind of areas that we focus on with our SEIS fund, because if you get a digital product with traction, you've got either Sony Music, Live Nation, Victoria Beckham, or Endemol, Fremantle down the street that can basically help give your digital boost and get it to market. So we focus mainly on scalable IP that to be to C market, which means in order to reach the consumer, there's opportunities to do strategic partnerships. Because when you're investing small amounts of money, to go straight business to consumer, B2C, requires kind of a lot of marketing money, which early stage businesses don't have. I guess the key criteria we look at when making investment decision is the team. So the team's got to be very strong. Ideally, you've got 2 co-founders, one that's got more of a marketing bend, and one that's more technical. So if you're a restaurant, you've got the cook and the front of house, and together they create a product that basically goes to market. So that's what we kind of look at. Once we've assessed that, we look at the 3D due diligence. So it's distribution, development, design, distribution. So development is software development as opposed to business development, and design. So development and design equals some kind of digital product. And then distribution is how do you then take that product, and is there a market for it? And if there is a market for it, how do you reach that market? Those are the kind of steps that we analyze a business in. And then with SEIS businesses, which are quite early, we're kind of looking for MVPs, minimal viable products, something that's been built. So if just with a kind of PowerPoint presentation says, I've got this great idea, it would be great to back that, but what we're finding in the market is you've got entrepreneurs that have been working on stuff in their spare time, in their attic, on weekends, and have already launched it or close to launching it. So those are the kind of opportunities that we focus on. The other thing we look at is for whatever funding we're putting in, we want the entrepreneur to have a 12-month runway, kind of a revenues, just because the last thing you want when you're starting a business is to always be about to run out of money. Because so you want to have enough time, ideally, but realistically, 12 months is enough to kind of not focus on, oh my God, I'm running out of money. How do I build my business? Because the next round of financing is all about how do I get enough traction to convince the next investors to put in more money at a higher value. If you don't have enough time to do that, you know, cash is like oxygen. If you run out, you kind of die, and that's what we found. So, you know, we'll be doing about 32 investments over the next 12 months. So what we've done is we've kind of galvanized a group of mentors. So for every investment, for every investment that we make, we try and put a mentor on each business. So if it's a kids business, we've got the XMD of Nickelodeon. If it's online video, the XMD of Endemol. So they can mentor these startup businesses, which we think is key. Have we got 1 minute left? Yeah. On top of that, we're doing co-invest partners, which are industry players. So for each of our petals or cluster areas, music, we're talking Sony Music, which is being announced today, Game Digital. For games businesses, so we can help with that third D, the distribution one, which is how do you actually reach that audience, and they can co-invest alongside the opportunities that we find. We've also got some corporate partners that we're doing with Angel Networks, M&A Advisors, Finance Birmingham. And my last slide, so we have a SEIS fund, which is a digital media focus. The Birmingham Creative and Tech Funds have a much broader, so anything that's technical, creative is what we're looking for. We're looking for investment sizes of between 50 and 400,000 pounds. So what we're seeking are, you know, local entrepreneurs and businesses looking for funding. We're looking also for talented individuals that want to join startups. So one of the things we're doing is bringing London-based startups that are willing to kind of open up in Birmingham in order to access capital and the benefits of doing business in Birmingham. So if we can connect talented talent with those opportunities, that's what we're looking for. Local mentors, local co-invest partners, and ultimately we want to create a more vibrant ecosystem like evenings like tonight. Sorry to overrun. Thank you very much.
Additional questions for John. He's going to be here afterwards for a bit for the networking. Yeah. Piece of it. Has anyone got any initial questions for him that you want to share? Put your hand up. 1 second, I'll just give you.
Hi there. Can I ask 2 questions, or is it just the one?
If it's quick.
If it's quick, okay. The first one is, why did you guys choose to go for the digital media market? Are there any sort of advantages in the UK for going for that specific market? And the second question is on the MVP. So you mentioned that you do invest in businesses or startups which have an MVP built. What level of MVP are we talking about in terms of number of users or perhaps growth? Thank you.
Well, first of all, the digital media focus is purely for our SEIS fund, which is a UK-wide fund. And the reason we've done that, what I've worked in for the last 20 years, the mentors I've assembled have got deep sector knowledge. And as I said, if it's a music live events startup or an online video startup, you've got world-leading, creative businesses, whether that's Sony Music, Endemol, with head offices in London that we can access through our network and basically do strategic partnerships with. So we think enterprise software, something I don't really understand, is probably coming out of the US. B2C, Facebook, LinkedIn, takes way too much money for early stage. So we're kind of focusing on areas where we think you've got a market and some partners here. MVP, when I started this 2 years ago, I thought it would be the PowerPoint, can you back me? And what we've seen is, people that have been building stuff for 18 months, then gone through an incubator for 6 months and are already live. One of the investments we're making are live, and they made £10,000 as a trading platform. But so it's amazing with a couple of dedicated people how much you can get done bootstrapping. So when you're kind of comparing, do I invest in that or that, you go for the one that's most advanced.
Okay.
Sorry.
That's right. One more, then.
Stand up. For the VCC Brave and Tech Fund,
Yeah.
how many investments are you planning to make this year? Thank you.
We're planning to make 12 investments this year. So I think out of the 5 million, Sam, 2 million's been invested, so there are 3 million left to invest, and we're looking at doing 12 investments, which could include follow-on from the existing portfolio. So I would say anything from 6 to 8 new investments, Sam? Yeah? But I think it depends on the opportunities, because could do more, could do less. But that we're looking to invest, and we're looking to find good startups that are locally based.
Great, thank you. John will be here afterwards to network along with Kieran and Sam and Susan if anyone's we can find them after, if that's all right. I'd like to introduce you to John Sherman from JSGS, who will be talking about his business and sort of lessons learned. John is actually based within the building, so it'll be interesting to hear what you've got to say. I'll just look your slides up.
I thought there was one more to get before you left me. Okay, thanks. I've just come hot foot from a meeting in London. Apologies for being late. Driven straight here, but held up on the M42. It's not quite highway robbery, but it's not far off. Okay, they asked me to talk about lessons learned. So I guess the thing to do is tell you a bit about what we do as a business, the lessons we learned along the way, and we're still learning, because this particular company I founded in 2007 with one other person, and in our first year we turned over £1 million. I thought, this is easy. It wasn't. We created 2 products that were needed in the marketplace very urgently, and we went from fag packet to the shelf in less than 12 months, bit of electronics, which was pretty good. The products were pretty good. They were groundbreaking in the market at the time. Am I loud enough?
Can anyone hear John at the back?
Barely.
Or let's move this over here.
All right.
Sorry, John.
Shouting to this one.
Sorry.
Is that better? Okay, sorry. And those couple of products were groundbreaking at the time. We were using natural speech in forms of text to turn people's heating and lighting on in a kind of Internet of Things way. That was a bit new then. So what you see here is what we're about now. Products. We have a range of retrofit devices. We can take out your light switches and your sockets and replace them with devices that look remarkably similar. And if you replace a light switch, you can turn your lights on. It's progress. The difference is you can also turn your lights on if you've got a smartphone and a hub from somewhere else. And we genuinely feel, I want to call it, everything seems to need a label, especially when you're talking to investors. It makes it easier for them to understand. You see, that's what it is.
we thought that we need to do practical things for practical people. So if you can plug this stuff in at your house and it solves a problem, turn your outside lights on or turn the lounge light on when you're not in, so it makes it look like you're in, so you don't get burgled quite so often. It's a useful thing. And can we do it in a modular way? Yeah, you can just buy one, stick it in, and control one thing, buy another one next month when you got a bit more pocket money, and so on. And that's how we started. And probably after the first year into there, we thought, well, there's quite a lot of interest in this, but we need a few more products. So we decided to raise some money. I spoke to everybody I knew who got them all to turn out their pockets. We managed to raise £42.06. So that's not going to go very far. So I put a picture of the city and knocked on a few shiny doors that were quite scary and raised £2 million in 3 months. We then spent all that money building another 64 products and developing a cloud platform and. So we thought, great, got the products now, got the cloud platform, it sort of works. So we need to find customers, and I thought what we need is a big retail partner, somebody who's going to take our products to market, because route to market, if you ain't got that, you got nothing, quite literally. No matter how clever your product is, you need route to market. In fact, you can get to market with a fairly shoddy product if you've got a good route to market, because I'm sure you've all looked in these places and seen products you're not very impressed with. But hey, they're in the market. So, next lesson is don't sit there trying to make the ultimate product, whatever it is. Doesn't matter what it is. Don't sit there making the ultimate. When it's good enough, get out there, start selling it. Because the other thing you realise when you get out there, what you thought they needed is not what they actually want. How good your product is, okay? So, and that's something we beat ourselves up with non-stop. Are we wasting too much time trying to make the best product? When actually we had something pretty good we could have been out there selling. So now we get out there and we sell it. The two people I tried to get close to, one was B&Q. Why? Well, the guy we were working with had really good contacts there. That's absolutely priceless. If these guys have got good contacts in the market you want to go to and customers you might want to talk to them. Because you can spend years just trying to get through the door. Years, literally, trying to get through the door. And every month that goes by, you've got a fund. So if you don't get in a month, that's cost you a month. If it takes you 6 months to do it, work out what all your cumulative costs are for those 6 months. You just blew it. Okay? And we thought, the technology, who's going to take this seriously? They're all going to say crap, and it's too cheap to be any good, so why should we buy it? So I thought, right, we need to put a name on here, otherwise it's Wango products from two fat blokes in the Midlands, and that's not going to get me anywhere. So I went and knocked on the door of Siemens. Why not? Is that 5 minutes left already? I'm only on the first slide. It's true. We went and knocked on the door of Siemens, and to my amazement, they let us in and said, well, what are you doing? They're already in this space, but they have very expensive, very complex products. We were offering something entry level. Eventually, we got them to badge our products and sell them as their own. Not bad for two fat blokes from the Midlands. So we were quite pleased with that. But it turned out to be the worst decision we ever made. Because giant company, number 1, 2 or 3 in the world's economy, whatever, however you want to look at it, they swallow you up. They drag you in. They get you on this committee, that meeting. It takes them 3 months to decide who's going to make the coffee. I kid you not. And almost 2 years later, we ended up sacking them. And I had the managing director in the office upstairs within 24 hours saying, what are you doing? You know, we're Siemens. And I said, but you're useless. We're not getting anywhere. You're dragging us down. They delayed our product 18 months. I had to fund all those months. Not funny. Okay? So we sacked them, and since then we've been doing all right. 2 years ago, we turned out another £1 million, having dipped. We came back up. Last year we did 3 million. This year we're looking to top that off. Doing pretty much what we were doing before, but iteratively improving the products and trying not to pursue the best when there's something good that's out there. Okay, will that do? Okay.
Is that it? Yeah.
That's it.
Did anyone got any questions for John? Don't be shy.
Blimey,
Is anyone?
it's perfect.
Oh no, no. Waka, I knew Waka. Waka's not shy, especially in
damn.
those trousers.
This is the only one I could find. Your products, are they in other countries as well?
Yeah.
What countries are they?
Denmark, Norway, Germany, Holland, Australia, Singapore, Hong Kong.
So it supports the American voltage as well, or is just the 240?
We're
volts?
just sticking with 230, 240 for now, yeah. Because there again, you can get seduced by the idea of the North American market being huge. Well, yes it is, but that also means it's really difficult to get over there and get established. If you haven't got a US partner that the US people see as homegrown, you're a foreigner. And they don't deal with foreigners. Quite seriously, it's foreign products we don't want to know. If you've got a US partner who wants to do it, yes, but then you'll have to do stuff for all this, for every product, all over again, and they'll check it, and they'll delay, and they check it, and remember, you're paying the salaries every month. So if you're going to go to the US, have deep pockets. Not
Thank
to say
you.
we won't, but right now, it doesn't make sense for us.
Thank you.
Okay?
Hi, could you explain a little bit about the technology of your router and how you control the devices? Is it wireless or through the mains electricity?
String. We use a lot of string. Our little gateway thing, there's actually 15 slides behind this, but never mind. We have a gateway device, which ironically isn't shown there. It's a simple device that plugs into your existing broadband router. It doesn't have an IP address, and that's very important, because I don't have any firewall issues. So it calls out every 3 seconds. And there's another company in this building that manages our server cloud platform for us. And there he is. There's a picture of him there, see, little cloud. And it pings, that device pings the cloud and then says, is there any commands for me? Draws them back down from your tablet, your phone, your PC or whatever. And then locally it's broadcast over 2 radio frequencies, 433 or 868. And each device has a unique ID and a receiver within it.
John, are you staying around for some pizza?
If there's
after
free
this?
pizza,
Yeah?
I'll stick
Good.
around.
Well, John will be around if there's any more questions. Please, I'm sure you'll be happy to speak to anyone.
Sure,
So,
yeah.
thanks very much. Thanks,
Okay.
John. Thank you.
Thanks for the whiskey and coke.
And next, let me introduce you to Paul from Spiker Technology. Paul is actually based in EFREF, and he's actually sort of leads on from talking about the Internet of Things and what they're currently up to. Yeah, there's a quick if you want to.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Yeah, a lot of what you were talking about is covered off what I was going to talk about, so it could be really. No, it's fine. So my name's Paul. I guess my first disclaimer is that I'm what they call vaguely technical. So if it gets too technical, I'll ask my co-founder Ben to help me out. And also, we're going to talk a little bit about the Internet of Things, but we only have 10 minutes, and it's a massive topic. So I wanted to start with a question, though. Can anybody tell me what these are?
Chopsticks.
They are chopsticks. Yeah, they are internet-enabled chopsticks, and the idea is you can log on to a dashboard and it tells you whether you're eating well or not. If it's a bit too far removed, well, what are those then?
Kids.
This is a company called Happy Forks. Anybody heard of Happy Fork? Yeah. Happy Fork. Internet-enabled forks. Again, it's the same idea. You can log on to the internet and see your dashboard and see stats about how well you're eating. And the reason I put them on there is that for some people, this is kind of what people think the Internet of Things is. It's kind of these really cool and way out there ideas. Some that are a little bit closer to home, so everybody should know what these things are. What we are specifically interested in is how businesses are actually going to get value out of the Internet of Things. Our background is in an IT consulting background. We both come from the systems integration space. So what Spiker is doing is we're looking at some of the Internet of Things technology and trying to figure out how we can help businesses take advantage of the technology. So just a quick bit of background on Internet of Things and what Gartner is saying about this. It's quite interesting. Is obviously Gartner saying this is potentially an absolutely huge marketplace, but it's also interesting to note where Internet of Things is on the Gartner hype cycle. I don't know if anybody's seen this before. The Internet of Things is right there, which is about to hit the peak of inflated expectations just before we get to the trough of development. That fills me with lots of positive thoughts about this is the right thing to do. But the reason that I think this is quite interesting is because Internet of Things is the kind of technology that businesses are going to look at and ask the question, what's the point? Why is this technology interesting to me and what am I going to get out of it? So what we are thinking about is how we turn, and really I think a big part of Internet of Things is a data problem. It's how we turn the raw data or the little data that we can get out of devices and turn it into real or big data that means things. And to solve that problem, you have to do some interesting computing. You need to be able to understand the context of the data. You need to be able to do some interesting, and you need to be proactive, creating events, alerts, notifications. And when businesses look at Internet of Things, how much time?
You've got plenty. You've
Hey!
got 7.5 minutes.
They're going to look at it and say, well, where's the money? Why am I doing this? How is this going to generate me any revenue? And for businesses, the kinds of things that they will want to know is, well, can Internet of Things allow me to manage my assets? A great example of that is in machine manufacturing, machine uptime and utilization is an absolute key metric. Can I use some of this technology to tell me if it's working effectively or not? There's obviously interesting plays around monetization. Things like CityCar is a great example of this. We can go and rent a car, there's data being streamed from that car about how you're using it into an asset. Using Internet of Things to operate things, so that's the lightweight stuff is a fantastic example of that. Hive is another example. But this fourth one of the applications that we're working on, I'm going to talk about in a minute, is I think really interesting, which is how do we use Internet of Things technology to change the way that we engage with our customers or deliver a different service. So rather than selling a product, so I sell somebody an alarm system, I say bye bye, never see you again. Actually, can I sell them an alarm system and a set of services that allows me to be much more proactive? And that's what I think is really interesting about Internet of Things. So we're building a platform to help businesses do that. A lot of it is powered by some IBM technology that we're buying in. And what the particular use case that we're going out to start off with is water monitoring. And this came about through a partnership, a bit of networking, and a partnership with an environmental consulting. Monitoring water for Legionnaire's disease is it costs the country a lot of money. The average, we think, is around £18 per tap per month. And the kinds of things that you need to know is you need to know whether the hot water is getting to a particular temperature within a certain amount of time. You need to know that the cold water is staying below a temperature for a certain period of time or consistently. And then what you want to be able to know is whether water is actually moving through a pipe, because water that's stagnant is a major biological risk. Now, currently, people do this by sending environmental consulting engineers all over the country in a van once a month, and they rock up and they walk around the building and they stick a temperature sensor into a tap and they log the temperature. In a lot of cases, that's what they do, and they log that on a piece of paper. Whether they're actually doing that or they're just sat in their van outside eating sandwiches, we don't really know. And that's the point, is that it's actually the current control method that a lot of businesses use to do this is pretty poor. So there is an absolute fantastic opportunity to use some like technology without really talking about internet, and trying to talk about what the real use case is and what the business benefit is to solve this particular problem. So our platform has, we use some interesting technology on the device side and some interesting technology on the cloud side to try and solve this challenge. And it almost works. It's pretty close. So one interesting thing, the question that we asked ourselves is, well, why isn't anybody doing this? People are doing it, but why isn't it much more out there? And businesses will be asking themselves the same question: why should I do this now? Or what's changed that makes this feasible now? And a lot of it really does come down to the technology. So I've just picked out 3 things that are a core part of what we do. The first thing is chip technology. So we've got some examples actually now when we're networking after, so you can see them. The cost of the chips, cost to actually put compute capability remotely, with low power on pipes or in alarm sensors or whatever, the cost of that has come down dramatically. So you can now buy these things. We use is an ARM Cortex M0, and this is an evaluation board. One of these will probably cost you about 25 quid, but the chip itself is about £3. So that's made a massive difference. The cost for doing this, and also the availability. You can go to Farnell or RS Components or whatever, and you can order yourself 10 of these little babies and start playing around pretty quickly. The second thing is networking. Networking has become an incredibly important tool in this because we don't want to run wires all over a building. So you alluded to this before. The idea of using Bluetooth is obviously the product. That's the predominant, primary networking technology in wearables. But then there are radio meshing protocols. There are oriented transports. So we use MQTT to grab data and send it up into the cloud. And again, a lot of this stuff there's a lot of work in this space. MQTT, for example, was donated to the open source community a couple of years ago by IBM, and there's plenty of resources out there that help you actually just have a play with this and see what you can get up and running. And then the third point is cloud services. It has become acceptable to a lot of businesses to put their data and have their data hosted in the cloud, possibly even in a multi-tenanted way. So we don't have the costs associated with lots of hardware on premise. We can move stuff into the cloud. So these three things combined is actually the thing that will help us go to business and say, now is a great time to do this because it's all about cost. Using these things helps us bring the cost of a solution down, which is what's going to help those businesses get their return on investment. So this is just a quick slide. I'll skip through this really quickly about some of the things that we're building in our cloud services. So message security, we need to be able to deal with, get that data into the cloud in a secure way. We have quite a lot of work going on in the analytics and reporting and workflow space. There's absolutely no point collecting this data if we can't do something useful with it. So we can send alerts, create notifications, send messages back down to the device, turn things on, all sorts of interesting stuff. I'm almost out of time. So if you're a developer and you're interested in this, there's a whole bunch of interesting resources out on the big wide web, but I thought I'd highlight a few things. Gartner have got a fantastic report on the Internet of Things generally that's worth taking a look at. IBM run a website called a division called the Centre for. I don't know if anybody's heard of that before. There's a lot of really interesting and very good thought leadership going on in this space. IBM's take is obviously focused around around cloud computing and analytics, but it's an incredibly important part of that. There is also IBM hosts a platform on Bluemix. I know there was a Tech Wednesday talk about Bluemix called the IoT Foundation. You can just plug a device into that and start seeing your data straight away. So that's really good. And then in terms of chips, the people that are really leading this space is ARM, and ARM are about to launch, or they're in alpha at the moment, a thing called Mbed, which is an operating system that's specifically designed for chips. And then a couple of the boards that we use, which have got Atmel boards and CSR boards. But if you're interested in knowing a bit more and you want to see some of it in action, come and talk to us.
Has anyone got any questions for anyone? Yep.
Hopefully not technical questions, so we'll keep it straightforward. I'm more interested in terms of how you guys started and how you decided to go for whether you chose a specific market to go. The water example, which is great because it's a massive inefficiency and you have people going out in vans taking all sorts of measurements. Have you identified a specific market that you're going after, or are you more or less going after different sectors?
So I'll be brutally honest. So when we first started this, so we both Ben and I worked in a previous business, which was our services and consulting business. And when we talked about starting a new business, we said we absolutely want to do stuff in technology, but we're absolutely not building another consulting business because it's a pain in the arse. So we set ourselves out and said that we specifically wanted to build a product business or a business that had got significant IP. Our background is enterprise integration, so that fits. And actually, we'd already started doing some work and some thinking around the Internet of Things. And the reason that we picked on the water thing was that was purely through networking. We knew we had to have a case study, or a set of case studies, and a proven example of the technology in action. So I just went out and started talking to some people, came across somebody who thought it was a fantastic idea, and we said, well, that's right, we'll build an MVP around that and see what happens. So.
You say you're after a business that had significant IP. How do you actually? What IP do you have in this area?
So we are doing a lot of the frameworks around how we do analytics, how we translate the business rules about what's significant and what's significant into events. We've also got a bunch of IP that we're building around security, which is obviously an incredibly important thing, and then also so we can get the messages into the cloud securely, and we know that we can trust the source of the data, which is the device, and then also how do we make sure that the people who are allowed to see that data can see it and nobody else can.
So is that an IP that you can secure, or is it just basically trade secret?
Well, we haven't patented anything yet.
I wondered how it could be patentable.
Yeah, it's a really good question. I think it's not something that we've explored yet. I think some of the feedback that we've had about patents is it's quite hard to it's incredibly specific, and in this case it's not that specific. But I think a big part of where I think we will get value, where we'll show our value, is actually using our consulting background. So what we're building doesn't necessarily have to be completely unique. In fact, there are platforms out there already. There's a platform called Zively that does something a little bit this space. There isn't anybody that's using some of the IBM stuff, but so a lot of our value will actually be in the way that we engage with businesses and help them understand what's the point question, what am I actually going to do with this, how am I going to build a business case, building an early prototype, helping them get into production, prove that the technology can make a difference in their business.
Like a consulting
Yes, I know.
Thanks so much, Paul. Who will be here after this? Last but no means least, I'd like to introduce you to Simon. And Simon's very much an entrepreneur, has had quite a few startup businesses, so he's going to talk to you about sort of his lessons learned as well. Let me just.
Can I grab that from you?
Would you like?
Yeah, if you don't mind.
Hello. Well, this is not my first time at Tech Wednesday, so I usually come up at the end to try and hype up the crowd, but I think that's already been done with some really cool stuff earlier. Before I start, I want to get a sense of how many guys in here have already started a business. Show of hands. Wow, looks like everyone. Who's thinking of starting a business? I'm speaking to just 3 guys today, but I imagine everyone will learn something from this, and I think you will resonate with a lot of this as we go through. So I'm talking about 5 million ways you can kill your business in the first 12 months. I've done this, and some of you have probably done this too. And it's going to be really interesting to talk about my journey, because it kind of spans my last 10 years of entrepreneurship and finding myself. So I dropped out of work. So I resigned from work. I was working as a junior architect in London, and I found it repetitive and boring, and I wanted something fresh. So I stepped out and started doing quickly I realized that I wanted to be in an environment full of creativity and so on and so on. So I started my journey in entrepreneurship then as a freelancer. Is this working? Sorry. Okay. Yeah, if you just press enter on that for me. So it was all a dream. I picked up my little laptop, started developing websites and software and all that stuff, and made some crazy mistakes in the first 2 years. So 2004 to 2006, I was probably the worst guy you could get to do a website, but I was doing them anyway, and I was learning. So I got really far with that, and by the time it got to 2006, somebody recognized what I was doing and nominated me for a Young Entrepreneur Award,
which I did win, because there was no one else competing who was under 30 at the time. At least that's what I believe. So I don't think I deserved it, but I won it. And of course with it came a lot of excitement and a lot of, hype, Leading on to my first lesson, this is lesson time. I've got 5 lessons to teach you guys. I'll move over here for a sec. All right. Is that right? Yeah. So I grew up to listen to 90s hip hop, and a lot of these guys were my mentors when I try and discover myself. It says never get high on your own hype. Really, what that's saying is, you can easily get excited by your own hype. Now, we all know how the press works. So I was Young Entrepreneur of the Year award. I thought, wow, this is really incredible. I was in all the newspapers, Birmingham Post, whatever. And it was out in the Black Country. So I thought, let me move to Birmingham. Thankfully, the Science Park welcomed me. So I started out here. And I had the press following me, literally. I don't know what it was. I'm getting excited by my own hype. But you know how it works. You tell the press what you want them to tell the world. Right? And it's really easy to get caught up in that. So as a young startup, I think one thing One thing I'm really advising is don't get excited by what you tell the world, because you're just going to get caught up by yourself. And with that, I came to Birmingham with £1,000 and I thought I would make it. But I struggled. The second bad thing I did was get the wrong apple into my team. So I'm rushing this a little bit because I don't want to run out of time. But one of the things that I've seen entrepreneurs do multiple times, and I did this, I had a friend who then said, look, I like the fact that you're a young entrepreneur. They believe the hype too. And I said, great, come over. We started running the business together, and he was my sales guy, I was a tech guy. And to be honest, many times my clients would come to me and say, look, this dude is not, think about finding someone else. And I'd be like, yeah, whatever. And it took a long time to get to this point where I realized he was the wrong guy. But by that time, the business had been crippled. I'd employed 5 people. I was barely making it month to month, just being able to pay these guys, and I was losing a lot of momentum and money. So watch out for this one. You might have that best friend from the pub. It's probably best at the pub rather than in your business. And I've seen this happen so many times with startups. I'm based in the U4F, so I'm fortunate to see a lot of guys come in and leave as well with nothing. It's unfortunate, but it's real. The very next thing that happened is that I had an opportunity, and someone talked about Siemens or Nokia earlier. So I happened to stumble across some old contacts who got me in touch with some friends who were building a software for Nokia Siemens when they came together. And I built some pretty nifty technology. I was pretty good by then. I wasn't destroying people's computers and stuff like that with my code. So, and I'm self-taught, by the way. So a lot of I don't know what the words are for some of these things, like variables, but I know how to use them. Just understand that. So here I was, the only developer in this business, and they had struck at gold, this consultancy, and then got earning lots of money. And they came to me and said, Simon, I want to buy your company. And at the time, I just thought, no, it's my little baby, and little baby go, and I want to hold on. And to be honest, then they said, look, if you're not going to sell your company to us, we would like you to consult with us full time. So what would you choose? No, I made the worst mistake, and I went out and I said, no worries, I will join you guys. I'll keep my cake, and I'll also have some steak too, or however you want to put. Before you knew it, I was working for full time, and I was sucked out of my business, and I lost it. So I lost the business, and I lost the contract a year or 2 later, because essentially it grew so fast they couldn't have one guy doing it anymore, and they brought a whole team. It turned out I owned the software because we never signed anything legal. So I had a good exit and a little bit of money to start something else. I think I traveled for a year at a time, but found myself back in the UK. Okay, what should I do now? And that's when I started to learn. I found a new business partner when I came back. By the way, I traveled to during the year of the World Cup. I'm from Zimbabwe, so I moved back there for a while, and I built a lot of tech out there. Being unequally yoked is my 4th lesson. It's so easy to get caught up with this. And I met the guy who helped me build, I think I talked about Tech Wednesday a couple of probably a year ago, where we built a technology that would lend people small credit for phone calls across Africa. It went really well. We got noticed by a really big UK loans company. I can't tell you who they are. And they wanted to acquire us. So my second acquisition. So what do you think I was thinking here? Sell it. Unfortunately, my business partner had a totally different idea. This was his first baby, and he wouldn't let it go. So I guess my lesson from this is, before you start getting into bed with anyone, especially in terms of business, think about how you're going to exit. And I'm not suggesting this in marriage, because that's not what I'm talking about. But before you get into business with anyone, really think about how you're going to get out of that situation when it's time to get out. Because you're probably not getting in there to stay forever if you're an entrepreneur. You've got a heart that wants to create and make things happen. So we lost that deal. I could have been sitting at $500,000 there somewhere, because it wasn't a lot of money, but it was enough to change my life. A big lesson. That's probably 2 years old, this lesson. So it's really fresh in my mind. Finally, so right now I'm building I've got a business, a brand new business partner again. This time I did quiz him. I paid him for a day to sit with me in a room, and I quizzed him, and we learned, and I was getting all the information from him, and we ended up in this situation. I said, look, we like each other. Let's get married in business. And we started a business together called Happy Catalyst. And for the last 2 years, we've been building this amazing technology that would help universities recruit students, and we had a client on board, and we got on, let's say, 2 more clients. However, what we found is that we built this mammoth system that nobody wants to use because it's too big to learn, and also the university cycles are like 12-year lead times to sell something. So we have leads now where they've been waiting 12 months to be closed. So we learned a big lesson from this. So one of my biggest lessons to everyone here who is in business or who hasn't started a business is really think about who you're targeting and what you're doing before you start. I mean, it was fine. We managed to get through Bootstrap, but we learned a big lesson from building too fast, too quick. So the reason I'm here really, guys, is not to tell you about my 5 mistakes, but it's to tell you about my new product. No, I'm kidding. Biggest lesson that I've learned from the last 12 months, and probably my biggest lesson in the last 10 years, is start selling now. Before you have it, when you have it, and after you had it. Telling people about what you do. And I didn't do enough of this for a very long time. This year, I set my business partner down, because we got really happy with this business, which was, we were able to tick over and comfortably, but we weren't able to keep to grow. And I said to him, look, as of January, I'm a salesperson, not your tech guy anymore. I'm not writing a single line of code. And in the last 2 months, I've sold 2 of these things. Why? Because I started talking to people. Not only have I sold it, I've also given it free to some people to kind of test it for me, because who knows, my code might be broken. I don't know that yet. No one's come back. But basically, we sell software now that allows you to capture, review, capture and manage and application. So you might be a business, for example, a scholarship award going on, or anything that requires people to add content to a form into a management system and then output it in reports and so on. There's a lot of people in this space, but we've come with a very different approach where we customize the software for the client. So one of our clients at the moment is we've just picked up a contract with Lambeth Palace in London. And they are using this to recruit 16 international people to come and spend the year with the Cardinal, with the Bishop of Canterbury. And amazing, right? That happened for me, just getting out there and saying, oh, this is what I do, I'm Simon, and so on. I don't know if this is working, by the way. Yeah. It is. All right. So my final lesson to all of you is just get out there and sell. Because if you're not doing that, you're wasting a lot of time. Until we started doing that, we didn't realize. So just to tell you, the next few months we're hiring new staff. If anyone's in sales here, we want to have you, because that's all we're doing now. And I think the other big thing I need to remember to say is, he did say I should say is, sales, yeah. We are hiring salespeople. I think that's the most important thing to say tonight. If you are sales, come and talk to us. And if you are in the business of doing some type of collecting data and managing it, we want to talk to you too. Thank you.
Thanks, Simon. Does anyone have any questions for Simon? Don't be shy. Put your hand up. Or does everyone just want some pizza now? Someone will be around to network afterwards as well. I just wanted to, as I mentioned at the beginning, I was just going to give a couple of people the opportunity to stand up and give a 1 minute pitch. I know there's 3 people already that's approached me and wanted just to sort of let you know. The first one, Operation Birmingham, on the Climate Kit project. She just wanted to give you a very instruction on an application program for clean tech businesses. That's open. So over to you. Do you want Liam? Yeah. Right.
Thanks, Michelle. I'm Catherine Shelley. I'm from Climate Kick. We're actually based in the office next door. We run several programmes, but what I'm here to talk to you about today is the clean tech support that we offer. Climate Kick is Europe's largest public and private partnership looking at change. So any of you interested in clean tech or have got a product or service that is looking to make a climate impact, I'm your woman. So it's a 3-stage programme. We're open for recruitment at the moment, closes 23rd of March, and we can give you up to €20,000 in funding. So if you're interested in clean tech, come and see me. And also we offer placements as well. So if you're interested in having a domestic placement here in the West Midlands or in Europe, we offer placements as well. So there you go. Thank you.
And also, thank you. Just looking for, we always like to do things different here, and Alex approached us about doing a taste test, which is going to happen within the pizza as well, so more food. So what more can you want? Alex, would you mind just a very brief little what you're doing?
Hi everybody, has anybody been watching a programme on BBC called Eat Well for Less? Yes. Right, so here's the idea. We've got 3 groups of unbranded produce out there. We've got Diet Coke, we've got Coke, and we've got to go after your pizza or maybe with it. Your challenge is try the ones from each category. Can you spot the expensive one? Can you spot one? And can you possibly save money if you can't tell the difference? I'll be at the table opposite the pizza, free samples. Please come and see me. Thank you.
And funny, where's Steve Willie? So there you are.
I'll step out of this one. Hi, so I'm Steve from Incas Games. Some of you all have known about just before Christmas I talked about what we're doing. At Incas Games we build audio-only computer games for the visually impaired. So basically at this point I think it's not for you. Actually we're pleased to say it's really exciting for visual players as well. We've had a lot of press, it's really exciting. But what's even more exciting than that is that we're just on Kickstarter at the moment. We're just 1 week in, but we could really do with your support. Whether that's tweeting, anything. If you like the idea of the game, put a sneaky pledge in. We've got a great partnership with Turtle Beach headsets going on, so if you're in the market for a new pair of headphones, we've got some good deals there as well. So I'm from Incas Games. If you search 3 Monkeys, which is the name of the game, you can find that on Kickstarter, and we're just hoping to push that through this month. That'd be great. Thank you.
Also, Steve, I think you should have a conversation with Jean afterwards as well. Funding, they're great. One more, if anyone wants to stand up, and great, you come first. You're the one that didn't need. Do you need a microphone this month?
I got told off last time. Okay, can you hear me? Beautiful. I'm 21, just started my own business, Game Overload. Stars video games, digital download only, nothing physical, no postage and package, stuff like that. But a mission-driven company, accepting Bitcoin and customer-centric, 99% defect-free, on-time delivery, and close customer support. Very mission-driven company. That's everything for now. Yeah.
So that's it now, you'll be pleased to know there's pizza in the atrium. Just want to mention that I saw lots of hands up about people who've got a startup or thinking about a startup. So you know what I look like, so please come and speak to me when we're having pizza. If anyone wants to speak at any future Tech Wednesday events, please let me know.